Hi there. So this became a quite lengthy video, but I will make the markers down below into the text so that you can easily hop from a section to another. And the main idea with this video is that I will walk through from a workflow point of view and from my opinion, what are the good things in a browser and library function in each and every digital audio workstation. So if you just want to see a specific workstation, you can hop into that point in this video, as it became quite lengthy going through 7 different digital audio workstations and their browser functionalities is a kind of a big topic. Although I could even go even more deep in this, but I just looked from a user point of view and usability point of view, what makes sense from a usability point of view when creating music and considering workflow. So let's get going with the video, and remember, if you want to see some of the digital audio workstations that are mentioned below, so just hop into that section to see how the browser implementation, in my opinion, is done in that digital audio workstation. So okay, let's move on. Alrighty, I thought that I'd do a small video here regarding on the browsers and libraries in different digital audio workstations and what do I like the most. So in Ableton Live, the great thing is that you can create these collections and you can bring in your own content into it. So you can quickly find your synthesizers or your instrument tracks that you have created, or even your audio effect tracks that you have created. Then you can create these collections that you can then place things into, like I have here my go-to plugins for mix primary, my mix effects, my master bus plugins, utils, and so on and so forth. And then you can of course bring your own folders here. You can basically extend this with your content depending where it is. So for example, if I would like to bring from my local drive a, let's see, that I would like to bring, for example, a sound and loop library, something that I would like to maybe use in this project, I can basically say that open and it will get added over here, and then I can browse it directly from here. And then of course another thing is that if I have the plugins, I can quickly go into any of these manufacturers and select the plugin that I want, and then also that I can drag and drop it into the project immediately and start creating. So I think that the browser and the functionality in Ableton Live 11 was, in my eyes, is extremely good. The only thing that you might actually sometimes want to have is that, it would make things if they are visual. So let's dive into a Studio One browser. Actually, yeah, one more thing. I do like that the browser and the library is on the left-hand side, so that at least I'm a right-handed, so for me it's a natural to take a plugin or an instrument and bring it into the project from left to right. On Ableton Live browser also, the fact that I can browse all my content in here, being those sounds, instruments, audio effects, clips, samples, grooves, and so on and so forth. I can immediately access everything. So this is extremely convenient, and then of course the search. But the search what Pro Tools has is great. I can already search things easily from there, but now in here, when everything is within the single library, and I just say that I want to search, for example, a Pro Q3, I have it here. Or if I would like to find a gig sample, I can get different type of kick samples and even things in here. So this is very fast to find things, and you don't need to go from a window to another. You just basically stay here, you find your plugin, or you find your audio file, or whatever you are needing, and then you drag and drop it into your project, and that's, from a workflow point of view, I think extremely sufficient. Ableton Live 12 came with this new type of an approach, but honestly I don't like this approach where I would need to go and use these filters to search and narrow down my things in Ableton Live 12. So in my eyes, or at least from my workflow point of view, the tree structure from where I can easily get plugins is much more sufficient than this one. There are some great benefits with this one as well, but I'm not happy about this. So okay, let's look into library browser and a bit more deep dive in the Studio One browser and library function. So in Studio One you have the browser on the right hand side. However, as I said in the previous section with Ableton Live, I kind of prefer that the library is on the left hand side, so that you and maybe that's because I'm right-handed, so I'm used to drag and drop things from left to right. So having this maybe even so that you can configure it if it's on the left hand side or right hand side would be pretty awesome feature. Anyway, the good thing with Studio One browser is that it's very visual. So if I click on here, I can actually see the thumbnails of the different plugins. Of course, you need to store them by yourself, but once you do that one time, you don't need to kind of bother anymore with that one going forward. So, and also the search function is pretty sufficient. So if I need to find something, I can quickly find it, and then there are different other options. So the search functionality works well. I like the tree structure in it, so that when you are not searching things, you can dive into the tree structure, and then of course you can also build in your own favorites here. And so all in all, it is good one. And then of course in digital audio workstations where you have multiple plugins, like you have, like in a Mac, you have audio units, you have VST, you have VS3. One great feature that I also I like about Studio One browser is that you can actually go in here and make things visual or hide them. So if you don't want to use the audio unit plugins, you can hide them from here. So by clicking the wrench, you can go into there and hide things that you don't want to see in the browser. Again, of course, it is a bit, if you have plugins like many of those, so it's a kind of a tedious process to do, but again, you do it once and then you are happy ever after. Similarly, it works for the effects, so that's basically, that's a great thing about the browser in Studio One. However, I would prefer it to be in the left hand side, so I could drag and drop from here. Of course, this works equally, so no. Of course, this works equally, so no major issues there. So but anyway, at least in my brain, the having the library on the left hand side works better. And yeah, so I think that's regarding on it. And also the good thing, like here, as you have also in in Ableton Live is that you have all the content is again available from here, and then you can make these kind of shortcuts into your content, so you can quickly go into the shortcut and then browse things in there. So the way you can kind of configure your library, that you can find things within the library, makes it also extremely sufficient. So I would say that this is similar like what Ableton Live has. However, the thing that I like is that it's also visual on top of the browser that you have in Ableton Live. So there are great things about the Studio One library in that respect. Great thing about the approach here also is that how easily you can then bring your instrument into your project just by drag and drop. Similarly as you have in an Ableton Live. So you just take the instrument that you want and you drag and drop it into your project, and you are ready to go. So this kind of helps also when you are in a creative mode and you want to easily get into your instrument, that you kind of have in mind that, you know, I would like to use a Hammond in my project, or whatever instrument you ever want to need. Quickly test it out, that how does it sound in the context, and then off you go. One thing also here is that you can quite easily store track presets into. So if I go into the mixing mode, and here I have just now the Pro C, but I could add maybe something else also, like just as an example, another other plugin into the channel. Then now if I just drag, no, I'll give some name for this, just as a kind of a sample. So if I click that and I'll basically bring it here, I can drop it in here and it will store it as an effect preset for me. So if I now go and I empty this track and all the plugins. So now if I need to recall that, I just go and drag and drop. This drag and drop is in many cases in many digital audio workstations, where you can take the presets and drag and drop them into your channel or track or your project. However, the other way around, that you can take this and drag and drop it into your library, is not in that many, but it is in few. Like Ableton Live supports that to a certain extent, but I think here you have the most sufficient kind of drag and drop functionality when it comes to storing presets, MIDIs and things into your library. So that's a kind of a big plus in Studio One library as well. Okay, let's look what others have to offer regarding on the library and browsing functions, and see what's great about those and what's not. And of course, these are my opinions, so everyone has their own opinion, but from my workflow point of view, these are the points that I kind of like and certain points that I kind of dislike. Anyway, all in all, this is pretty functional and good kind of approach to the libraries and browsing content in your digital audio workstation. When we look at Universal Audio Luna, one thing that I like on the browser in Luna is that when you are searching plugins, you can preview those plugins, and you also see the thumbnail over here. And in that sense, I would say that if I go here and say Arturia, it narrows down my search, and then I can quickly, see that, okay, what was the plugin, or what plugin actually I would like to use from Arturia. However, this paradigm does not work for adding an instrument, or when you are adding a track, it works differently, and that's not great. It's okay, but it's not great. So if I add a new track and I add a instrument track, I need to now select the instrument from this long list of VSL instruments, and that's not convenient. However, if you are creating a new track, an instrument track, and you are not selecting any of these, so specifically you are not selecting the instrument from here, just say basically OK. And now when you have an empty track, you can go an instrument over here, and again, now you have the browser in use. So if you go and find a instrument that you wanna like to use, then you can easily go. You can of course browse as well, so you don't need to use the search. So for example, if you go into the Arturia and have that instead of like the B3, and if you are missing a plugin icon, you can easily create the plugin icon for the instrument that you are using. So next time when you use it, you can see it also visually over here when you are loading it up. The thing is that it also loads up the instrument instantly, so you can test it out and see if you like it or not, and then you can move into the next one. So if you maintain in this view, you can test out different instruments and sounds before committing it to be inserted into your track. So that's one good option here as well, that you can kind of pre-play it and see how it sounds, and if you don't like it, you can change it if you are not leaving from here. So if you leave from here, you say that okay, I'm here, then you know you need to go and basically then from the plus sign here you can actually go and select another one. So you can do that on the fly. However, those are the kind of steps that you need to do in order to access the other instrument change the instrument within your track. For me also, as I also mentioned regarding when we looked in Ableton Live and Studio One, for me the big thing is that I kind of feel that the browser for the content is on the left hand side. So at least in my brain, it's more intuitive to have it on the left hand side and not on the right hand side. So again, the positioning of this browser is something that I also prefer in Luna compared to the Studio One, for example. Okay, so that's about the browser in Luna. You can have different type of presets, as we discussed generically in a section where I went through the libraries and browsers within different digital audio workstations. You can store presets and things, but you can't have track presets in Luna, so that's kind of a minus in that respect. Okay, a few words about the browser in Cubase. So in Cubase, the browser is on the right hand side, and I do prefer it to be on the left hand side. Of course, you can open and close the browser with command option command R to get more landscape, as in others as well. So here the browser is it's pretty okay. The good thing is that you can browse all your content from this, and it is integrated with your main view. You can go into your instruments. You can also have them listed by their name or by thumbnail. So you can create this thumbnail, it gives a visual presentation, which is great if you want to use it. Then, of course, you can go into effects as well, or any of those subcategories like loop samples, presets, and find your content there. And then, for example, if you want to search a plugin, like let's go with like Pro C, you'll find it easily, and then you can drag and drop it into your project. Assuming that you have a track into which you kind of drop it. So let's just create an audio track. and as an example, and then drop that here. So now you have it as a effect channel into the audio track. It also depends where do you drop it, so it kind of does different functions, which is actually great. Anyway, regarding on the browser itself, all this is kind of like understandable and things like that, but then one thing I don't kind of get it is that if I'm here in a global area and I'm here and I search something like let's go to effects and search Pro C. I'll find it, but when I go into the top menu and I try to search everything, it doesn't find it. So this does not compute to me at all. Like, if I would like to globally search things, I would like to see the Pro C here, but I don't. So I don't really get it why I don't, and it doesn't matter what type of things I click here, I just don't see it. And so that's extremely kind of like funny in my point of view, that you don't see the content that you are searching in a global search. However, if you search it within the plugin, you will of course find it. No, come on, if you type it right. And then, yeah, it can store presets and things like that, and you can drag and drop the presets into your project as pretty much in any other digital audio workstation, excluding Universal Audio Luna, that doesn't support that. And you can of course store settings and things like there, but it doesn't support like this type of functionality as others do. All right, so that's a very brief summary about what is great in Cubase browser library and what is not so great. I prefer to use it also in a vendor mode. You can change it like to be based on category, but I always like to do things based on the vendor, because I know that if I want to have a FabFilter Pro Q, I just go and browse it and find it based on the manufacturer and not based on the category, to have a compressor or dynamics, and that also kind of changes from a digital audio workstation to another. Okay, so when it comes to browsing things in a library and specifically effects and instruments, I think in Logic Pro X that's the most inconvenient thing. The good thing with the library is that you can have your user patches and preset sets here. So once you do it, of course, once you can easily bring the instrument in and it will load everything for you. However, when you are adding a track, you basically you don't have any way to browse the instruments that you would like to use. So the only way that you can do that, if you add a instrument track, you need to go over here to browse them in this structure. Of course, there are third-party plugins that you can, or third-party app that you can use to enable browsing of instruments and effects in Logic Pro X, but natively it does not come with that capability. And I think that is one of, like, at least for me, was a big minus, like from a workflow point of view, that I need to go always through these three structures and or the menu structures that then I might miss something and I get the wrong effect, or I might miss something, I got the wrong instrument. So this is, in my eyes, is not that convenient. Of course, that's my opinion, and I can say that many Logic Pro users are on the totally different ballpark with that, most likely. However, you have an app that you can use with Logic Pro X to enable to have a search functionality for instruments and plugins, as said. Another confusing factor is that here you have your patches and things like that. You can browse and load them into your project. However, then to browse content, you have basically the file browser you have on the other side. So you have like two places where you browse your stuff. And that is, again, like for me, kind of like from a workflow point of view, it does not make sense that I browse certain things here, and then on the other hand, I browse certain things on the left-hand side. I think it would make sense to have all content in one place, as in many of the digital audio workstations you have. You browse them depending on the instrument effects, loops, whatever. And you can easily then bring them from the browser into your project. So yeah, again, that's my opinion, and at least from my workflow point of view, I kind of prefer a single point of place where you browse things and from where you can use things. And that basically concludes my review on the browser and library functionality in Logic Pro X, what is convenient and what is not. Oh, then the Reason browser is actually pretty good implementation of a browser and a library in a respect that you can easily drag and drop things into your project. You have a visual presentation of instruments, effects, utilities, and players. So visually it looks very nice, or extremely nice. Also, you can filter out what will be seen. Like if you don't want to use VST2 plugins, you can disable them, and then you only have the plugins that you prefer to use, in this case like the VST3s. You can also search things in the browser. So let's go and see, like Pro C. So that search is effective. However, if I go up and let's do like this, so that let's go to top level of a browser, and so yeah, so basically let's search all locations, and now like say Pro C, you will find that as well. So all in all, the implementation is pretty okay, and then also you can store presets and things like that into it. I like the fact as well that it's on the left hand side. At least for me, it is the way my brain works, so that I search things on the left hand side, and I drop them into the project, and I can use them over there, and so that makes sense. Then of course also, if you have presets, you click on here that you want to open a preset, you see all the presets that are available for you, also in a tree structure, so you can easily navigate into the content that you want to use. And all in all, I think this is a good implementation of a browser in general, and supports the workflow quite nicely, so that you can easily search things, bring them into your project, and use them within your project. Also, the fact that how the drag and drop works, so that's convenient. Again, here also, once you have, like for example, if I would like to use this as my mixing event, I can drag and drop it into my favorites, so now it is available over there. So many good things on Reason and regarding on the browser of content, and again, everything is in one place, so I can look into the audio samples or packs or whatever, and I don't need to kind of have it. I don't need to kind of have multiple places to search my content. So in that sense, a plus for Reason on the browser and the library implementation, and at least for me, it seems extremely convenient and straightforward implementation. Okay, finding things in Pro Tools is basically divided into two areas, so that you have these browsers in which you can browse the content. So you have a default, you have one for your sound libraries and your workspace. So if you from here you can define open a default sound space or track presets, depending what you want to bring into the project, and that's actually pretty convenient. However, one thing that I would like to see in Pro Tools is that this is attached to the edit window. Of course, again, just my opinion is that having multiple floating windows is not always good from a user and a workflow point of view. You can bring this forward easily with key commands, so that if you are lost in a jungle and you want to bring it front, you can just by pressing one key command bring all the windows in front of you. And you can also configure them to be kept in front. The thing with the browser is, although that it's extensive on search and you can do searches on your content extensively, excluding your plugins and your instruments. So if that would be integrated into the workspace and the workspace integrated into the edit view, then I think that would be a at least from my workflow point of view, a great improvement. However, this search is pretty awesome, and you can search all content, your sounds, your track presets, and whatever you kind of would like to use. So I know I have a track presets for my Moog 1, and I also have a for my mini Moog I have a track preset. So if I would like to now bring that into the project, I can do that easily, and so let's close this folder. Let's bring the window in front, and if I would like to use my mini Moog track presets, I just drag and drop it into my project, and off you go. I can start playing around with mini Moog. However, if I would like to do this for each and every instrument, I would need to for instruments I would need to basically create a track presets for each and every, and of course that's something that one can do, and then you could search everything from your track presets. So like what I have done as an example, I also created into my own folder, I created output instruments, so that I could basically bring them here as the track presets and then drag and drop them. So this is some work that you need to do. Of course, you do it once and then you can utilize it all the time. However, if you would include also the effects and instrument into this browser, it would be pretty awesome. And then the fact that you could actually link this into your edit view so that it would not be floating around. So two main things I would say that would make this from a usability point of view a lot better from a workflow point of view. The good thing with the search is that it's actually extremely extensive, so you can quickly search things and get into the the effect that you want to use. So it is very sufficient, and whatever you want to bring in is that you can do it that quite fast. So LA to a like double compressors. But anyway, I just kind of show that different type of content can be brought into extremely fast. However, sometimes it would be meaningful to browse also instruments, and then the only thing here is currently like in Logic that you would need to go into the plugins and see that what would you like to use. Here also you can actually change this view from from kind of topics to a manufacturer, so it makes, at least for me, more easy to find things, because I know that, okay, if I want to have a Moog filter, I just go there. So instead of categories, I use this manufacturer configuration, and I explained this in my previous video, like where I discussed more deeply on the library and browsing things in it. But from a review point of view, what is a great browsing experience, what is a great library functionality, and how to search things in your digital audio workstation. This is like my outcome from the Pro Tools, so that basically the window functionality is great, but then I would consider of basically integrating this with the edit view, and then also bring the instrument and instruments and effects in here, so that I could browse through them in a hierarchical structure, like I can do with the track presets or with my sound library. So if I go into my local files, so I can easily then go into that and browse them, or then I could basically search them if I need to. So yeah, that concludes the kind of the pros and cons regarding on searching things in Pro Tools. So the search is very powerful and capable. The only thing that I would do, I would integrate the instruments and effects into this view as well, and embed this into the project or the edit view, so that I don't miss it in a sense when I do this. So it is then much more convenient to work in a kind of a single view environment than having multiple pop-ups. But then again, that's my opinion, and there are many opinions, of course, and someone might feel the same way, but others might actually feel that this is exactly how it should be, because I want to have this window in my second window, like my monitor or whatever. So there are several preferences. However, quite many digital audio workstations currently have a kind of a single view, where you don't have that many pop-up windows, but you have everything embedded into your window, and you just open and close them in there, so you don't kind of get loose of control of things. All right. So that's about the reviewing the library and browsing function in different digital audio workstations. If you like this type of videos, subscribe for the channel and also comment below, so I can reflect into what you guys want to see, what is kind of valuable for you and what is not, so I can improve my channel going forward. Thanks for watching. Bye now.